Welcome back to the final presentation of this stage. We have Dennie Declercq on stage. He's a Microsoft MVP developer and has experience in accessibility with Microsoft technologies. In daily life, Dennie is president and developer at DD Soft, a nonprofit that connects IT to people who are less tech savvy. And Dennie invented technical solutions and systems to help people with disabilities to participate in their daily life. Thanks to his autism, he is the right man at the right spot to contribute as a volunteer in function of people with disabilities, and that's something that he's going to talk about. Error 404, color not found, but Dennie is to be found here on stage. So a round of applause for Dennie.
Okay, first of all, thank you everyone here in the room, and also thank you everyone watching virtual online, especially people here in the room and online. We know it's 3 days, it's exhausting, 3 days of conferences. So happy people to see so many faces in the room, even the last, just before the end keynote, the last day. The talk is, as I said, color 404, color not found. So let's begin. If we talk about accessibility, in each accessibility topic, for me, it's always very, very important that you show the people what they can expect and what they can't expect. This is, in fact, a part of accessibility. So what you're going to see, a little intro, with a bit of storytelling. You're going to learn about the Belgian food culture in the intro. And then I'm going to talk about accessibility. And you will see that I'm going to narrow it down to color things and vision stuff and color blindness. And then the rest of the talk will be everything about color contrast, what is color contrast, how you can measure it, how you can test it, and how to use it. And of course, if there's an intro, there's always an outro. That's so it's just a rule in life. So I'm Dennie Declercq. I am president, IT coach. I call myself IT coach. Developer at DD Soft, so a non-profit that connects the IT industry with the social industry. A Microsoft MVP, and I'm really, really proud of this. Yeah, and I am Mr. Dreaming is Believing. It's a hashtag that started in 2016-17 about becoming an international public speaker as a person with my autism. When you come to the point that you start printing your own hashtags and quotes, or call it mantras, on clothes, you are kind of at the edge. There's the point of no return, but I'm proud of it. But tell me about the Belgian culture. Even I lost some weight, I like fries. In Belgium we call it frieten. And in Belgium we have a good and a well-known fries culture, the frietkot culture. And there is the concept, there's not only fries, but with the fries you have loads of varieties of sauces that you can order with the fries, and also lots of varieties of snacks. It can be multiples of burgers, but also smaller snacks. It can be even homemade dishes like a chicken stew. And you have basic frietkots, and you have the good ones. And the good ones have loads of choice and even self-made stuff. But with loads of choices, this means that I need to present loads of content on the screens with the menu. I was in a frietkot, and it was a really well-known one in Ostend, and with loads of custom-made special dishes, and I was really not happy. I was looking at the menu, it was all printed above the desk, and I was looking, what should I take? I cannot read it. The font is way too small. I am not colorblind, to be honest, but I couldn't read it. I was frustrated, and I needed to ask some things to the people next to me. What should I order, or what are the specialties? I had my food, I had a frustration, and do I know if you are frustrated, when you are ordering food, you will order too much, just allow. A year later, I was at another frietkot, and it was my cousin's frietkot, in another city, in Bredene, also Belgium. Also, loads of custom dishes, custom snacks, custom burgers, custom special things like stews. So custom, lots of dishes will mean lots of context to project on the screens. And I could read them all. The font was small due to lots of content. And I was looking, he did a great job. The color contrast was so perfect that I can read with ease. So I congratulate him for doing this, and I really did it in person too. So you are seeing, I am not colorblind, and I had difficulties if the color contrast was wrong in the situation of ordering some fries. So why? Let's give an intro into accessibility, what can happen and what will happen sometimes. So first of all, we need to, if we talk about accessibility, just let's start with the basic. What is accessibility? And accessibility is people with all needs can access the internet, but also daily life activities. Accessibility is not only about computer and phones. In fact, they can access all areas. And that's really important, and that's really down to my heart. And accessibility is really important to have an inclusive world. And there are lots of people, speakers, also stuff about inclusion. The ideal goal is to include everyone, and not only people with and without kind of disabilities. But my specialty is accessibility and people with disabilities. So if I talk about people, I focus more on people with accessibility. That, well, if I make tools, if I have my own thoughts and content, well, of course, does not mean that I don't think about inclusion in the other way too, of course. Inclusion is everyone. So all people are living together in the same environment. And when people depend on others to have access for their needs, they are excluded. So if your communication is not accessible for everyone, then exclude to exclusion of those people. And I had a natural stick with communication because communication examples are websites, apps, but also physical leaflets, commercials, banners, posters, graphics, infographics. If you make them inaccessible, or if you don't think about making them accessible, for example, with font and color, you are excluding people. But there's also a business side. Doing good and doing is not only a social good or a charity topic, there's more than this. Because if you want to sell something, or if you want to sell your business, or you want to work on a project for people, for your customers that need to sell stuff, and you need to make a commercial, for example. If it's not accessible for all people, they cannot buy the product, if you don't want. An inaccessible website can prevents people to buy the product or the service. I say can, why? Maybe they can ask others and then they buy it. But it can be that they completely not looking at it. You will give an example later. And one of on 3 men has a way of colorblindness. I say intentionally man, so in the male form. Why? There's a lot of studies about colorblindness, and there are really a very little women having it. So there's really something has to be with the genes and the genetics. So male have way more chance than women. So 1 on 3 men with the emphasis of male men. But also a lot of people, it can be with and without elderly, have a visual impairment. So slight vision, vision loss, vision degree, slightly seeing less and less. And even, as I say, if I look, if it's a physical or digital folder and that my eyes hurt, sorry, there's competition enough in each industry, I will not hurt my eyes. Sorry. And it's pity, because they're losing. And there's you have the business losing, but you can even have works. Here you have my famous wall of shame, and that is for this talk. First talk starts with the top left and the bottom right, because they have something in common. The top left and the bottom right, I will say who it is. It's from the Belgian government. The top left is from the Belgian trains, and the trains in Belgium are run by the government. It's just how it is. And the bottom right is a COVID restrictions barometer that fortunately we don't have anymore. But look at this. This is hanging in trains. That is so difficult and for a lot of people impossible to read. Will this mean you need to wear a mask? or you are just allowed to wear a mask, or maybe you only need to wear a mask when there are lots of people, because I cannot read the white text. Of course, I can walk close enough to it, but that's not the point. Same here, what the text say. You don't need to know a lot about colors to know that white text on yellow. But the other topics, the top right and the bottom left, I will not say who it is, because it's dramatic. It's tremendous dramatic, because both are projects in Belgium from, let's say, entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs focusing on accessibility. The top left, the top right, sorry, is about a person doing lots of things for people with physical disabilities. But this communication, I know the person in person, so really in person, I talk to her, that's not the focus. Can be works, maybe, the bottom right. It's a good thought leader in Belgium on autism. But that is so hard to read if it comes to my Facebook. So as inspirational she is, she don't get me always. And she will miss also male with autism, for example. So it's not their problem, maybe, I don't know. Or they don't know, but... And then you tell, but talk about visual impairment. What is, if you look about visual impairment, what are the stats? When are you considered of having a visual impairment? If your work's eye, you see less than 50%. Your work's eye, your eyes are asymmetric. That means that they are never the same. They're always a little bit, not exactly the same. Let's say, even if they score 10 and 10, maybe if you really subdivide it, or with number after the comma, but normally it is by 10, 8, or 6, 4. But your work's eye is less than 50. That will mean that most of the time your total sight is less than 50. Even less. So you're seeing less than half without adjustments or with adjustments. And then you have color blindness. And this is an official disease, a disability, a diagnosis, that you have difficulties with distinguishing color. And it started for the first time in 1684 by Dr. Tuverville. And then we also had another term that came in close of it, and it's Daltonism. And it started in 1794 because it was Dr. Joe Dalton, it was a doctor. And what is it? It's really a physical thing. It's a physical, let's call it issue, something wrong, a dysfunctioning. It is a deficiency in the color cones. And what are color cones? Does everybody know what color cones are? No worries, I'm going to explain it. In the next chapter, if we talk about color blindness, color contrast. I will start with looking to the world. I will start with exploring how do we see color. And it's just all about signals. You have the sun or the light. It can be artificial light, like here in the room, but it's a light source, sun or artificial. The light comes to the first part of the eyes, so from outside to into your body. You have the cornea. Then it's going via your lens, and then it's projected on the retina. The retina is the thing that contains the cones. It's like this. It's like your television screen or the cinema screen. It's having all the pixels, having the signals, and that's it. Is signals. Signals is just electricity converted in your body, and those signals are sent to your brain, and that means how your color interpretation works. And so here you see at the image, this is your retina, and the retina is filled, so the screen is solid, is filled with all cones, little cones. And you have three types of cones. A red one, a green one, and a blue one. But it's filled, so the whole screen, you can't imagine, maybe it's stupid to think, but it works just the same like computers. And do you know why? Maybe it is the human that invented computers. So maybe there should be a link. Also, the RGB thing is not only a computer thing that works. No. Maybe human invented computers because like themselves a little bit. And also how our eyes work, our body works. We have the prot cone, that is associating the red color. We have the deuter cone associating the green color. And we have the trit cone associating blue color. So, and it's just the same, the whole way of mixing colors, and as you do on computer or as an artist, a drawer, a painter. Yeah, there's logic because it's human, because we aren't invented. And how it works with luminance. And is anybody old enough, so old as me, that you remember that that's where the light at parties? No, if you was yesterday at the party, yeah, maybe you will hang a hangover. But you will see that the lights were dazzling. But in the past, that's where the lights that you got if you go to a party. But it's the same way again as how our body works, as computers work. Guess why? We invented this as humans, don't forget it. So it's a filter, you have a light source, and you put a filter on top of it. And that changes the light of the color. So what happens? You have your luminance. The luminance is the amount of light source comes to you. And the luminance is measured by the three types. So the red, the green, and it's crazy to say, but there should be something crazy with people, but they confess yellow and blue. Sometimes they use the word, the color yellow, and sometimes blue. So let's say that yellow and blue is the same. Just for a reason, assume this. So it's a scale, it's a number, like example, a quotient. A number, let's say from 1 to 100, because you can do everything with percentage, it's not the official thing. And it's via each color, another percentage. And that's how we can interpret the color. So, that's how we work. Go again to the body. Away from the dance floor, come to the body. Then you have three types, three terminologies that will be very important, but all you're going to see right now, you will use when you test for color accessibility. Otherwise, I shouldn't learn you this. You have anopia. Anopia is just really physically missing cones of a type. So the prot, red, or deuter, green, or trit, blue. You have anopsia, that's just perfect. So if you are having anopsia, for example, protanopsia means that your red cones are working perfect. But they say it if only, my example, the red cone is working. And then you have an anomaly. Again, it's the same as in computer science, the same as in data science. We know what anomalies are, anomaly detection, so the cone works. But not that it should. And you can see it, you can feel it. So here you have a picture. Do you remember as a child you were coloring salt or sugar? It depends on the school you were in, with colors. And these are the buckets. And that is the colors. But the question is, are these the colors? No. These are the colors that the person with protanopia sees. So let's show you the real colors. And for some people in the room, as you know, 1 on 3 male have color blindness, both pictures will be exactly the same. No, they aren't, trust me. If you have tritanopia, if you have deuteranopia, guess what I'm going to show. And then you have something, a real severe form of color blindness. That is called monochromacy. That means you only see the world in shades of gray. Only gray. So even less distinguishment. But come back on the protanopia, because there's really something interesting to tell about the holiday season is coming and protanopia. Because in the holiday seasons, we ourselves as business or our customers are going to have special discounts, reductions for the festive season. I think we all knowing this. And what are the colors that they use a lot in Christmas associating end of year activities, all things included? They are using here, at least in the Western, lots of green, lots of brown, with another tint of green and a bit of red. So these are the colors that we link to end of year celebration. I guess I'm right. How does it look for a person? Let's put it on. How do I distinguish both? So let's imagine you have a green font on a brown background. Something that happens in commercial. A green font on a brown background. How do I read this? How do I distinguish the foreground and the background? If I have protanopia? So your sales will be better if you do it right. And show you more about this. Let's go to a Windows 10 feature called Windows 10 feature called color filters. We can change the view of what we see with filters. So I open some websites here. Let's start with the news of today in Belgium. There is a reason that I choose a news site, to be honest. If you do live demos at conferences, virtual or in person or hybrid, you are not responsible what the news is telling you today. Really crazy. But they put on the color filters. And then we can, my desktop is in Dutch. Why? Even though I present in internationally, my customers in Belgium are most of the time are just Dutch customers. And even family. You know that the family calls, I have a problem on my computer, I know. But if you then put everything in English on your own device, and you need to translate each word, each term that they can use, that they can see, I'm not one of those liking this. So let's see how the HLN sees if you have difficulties with red-green. Oh, it looks different. Oh, this is the gray, the monochromacy. And there are, as I said, also other websites. Here is a very crucial thing. This is the website for trains in Belgium. I think this website has an English one there, UI. Put it on English. And now you will see something terrifying. So here you can book your journey, your departure, destination. But if you are seeing red green, no, the contrast is going low. So there's no contrast, my friends. There is no contrast. Even in my Edge, I work with collections, and this collection is just called, a whole collection of websites, color bad. So websites coming there, be brave that you're not coming your website in that collection on my Edge. Otherwise, you will not be a good example for me. But also, as I say about websites, the Web Content Accessibility Guideline, made from the World Wide Web Accessibility Initiative, has a decent set of guidelines. And they are working about being accessible for different kinds of disabilities. But because this is a talk only about color contrast, it will be about color. And this is, so normally the WCAG has content or guidelines, check marks, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. But all the thing about colors is all in one dot, perceivable. And then you have 1.1, text alternative. That's like the alt text that they talk about. 1.2, time-based media. 1.3, adaptable. And then you have 1.4, distinguishable. So that's how you can distinguish different parts on the screen. Not everything indistinguishable, if you look at the whole guidelines, is about color contrast. That's the reason I will see that I will skip some numbers. There are other things to distinguish beside of color. But the WCAG has a really great numbering. So you really can see 1, the first number, if it's 1, is perceivable. If it's 1.4, is distinguishable. So all the numbers you are going to see is 1.4. You will see. And they are working with ratios. But before I talk what they're saying, just touch some important contrast ratios. But before I say the numbers, let's talk the formula. You have the relative luminance of the lighter of the colors, and you do some error margin, and you divide it by the relative luminance of the dark of the colors, and again you do some error margin. And then you come on some ratios. You have 3 on 1 as a number that you will see later on today, 4.5 on 1, and 7 on 1. And the WCAG gives guidelines per type of text, even per font or per reason which ratio you should use, at least. But and also the WCAG works with 3 standards: A, AA, and AAA. A is at least accessible, but it's at some kind of standard. Let's say. And then you have AA, it's better, it will work for more people. And then you have AAA, as just perfect. So level A, they are not using ratios. Why? They are only saying color is not the only way of conveying information. So you need to be sure that color is not the only way. An example is hyperlinks. Just put a line under the text, that of the hyperlinked text. Just really simple. Then the color contrast. Level A is the least, as I said. 1.4.3, so why we are skipping 2, as I said, perceivable is not only about color, and this talk is about color. So 1.4.3, contrast, the minimum specs. You need to have everything 4.5 on 1, the color contrast ratio. Except large text should be only needs to be 3 on 1. And there don't need to be a ratio or things to think in mind for incidental. These are things that you don't use on the website, but they are there for some reasons. And for the logo. Remember the word logo, because I come back to this later in this talk. And then 1.4.6, AAA. 7 on 1 for everything. Except for larger text, you need to have 4.5 on 1, and none again incidental and logo. There are even specifications for non-text for contrast. And AA, 3 on 1 for everything, and AA, except in UI, if it's an inactive component, there's no rules. And also for UI parts that doesn't meant to be adjusted. And for non-essential graphical objects. Non-essential, not existential, non-essential. But we're going to question that. If you talk about stuff, you need to question it. You're not only read about it. Logo types. Text is part of a logo or brand has no contrast requirements. Okay, sing that in. Are logos really recognizable if people have difficulties with distinguishing color? Don't you want your brand logo to be recognizable by anyone? Maybe no, I don't know. And what about a too low color contrast between the logo text, for example, the name of your business, or the statute, like in Belgium, the statute of non-profit is VZW. It's allowed to be there, but if the contrast is too low, so that's what I mean by detail. So even I should put at least a contrast ratio, let's say on 4.5 on 1 or 3 on 1 also for logos personally. And you can test this, of course. That's the reason that you get all the stuff today, because now we're going to live demo stuff. We're going to test websites that are in the folder in my Edge collection, bad colors contrast. And we start with the Adobe Color Contrast Analyzer. And that's a tool for the designers here, or for developers that sometimes needs to design UI. If I click on this, that's not really a testing tool. It is not testing your software. It is testing the colors for what you want. And I give an example. As I said, this is really great if you want to craft your brand or craft your infomercial, your commercial. And as geeky as I am, I choose just a dark red for my own non-profit. I even gave you the name DDs of dark red. It's not official. So, no, I do the background, sorry. I do this just right for a second. The background, I put it in English, sorry, English. It's also easy to change, background. I do the not official term, but let's call it DDs of dark red, and you can call it, it's a compliment. Okay. So background, let's say the background here is kind of a non-negotiable truth here. What can we do? Let's look. It's AA, we are passing for everything AA. But if we make the text a bit darker, we're still passing. Oh, here we are not succeeding for regular text. Then we need to change the text color. Or a little bit degrees in the background. This decides how freaky you are on your brands. How much negotiation there is possible. So I say I want a yellowish thing for a reason. We are failing, and even if we are making the red a little bit lighter, we are even failing more. What you can do, you can export all this stuff for a perfect color scheme. So this was the Adobe Color Contrast Analyzer, perfect while in design phase, that you sometimes are. Then you are producing in production or on, and that's the nice thing. Website is open. Let's say the published source on the website. So let's say just the generated HTML and CSS, because with all the PWAs and so, you can access it. And these tools test again the end result. So at the end, websites are always, it doesn't depend what you mean. If it's when it's on the service, when it's in your browser, it is CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. And that's public if you look at the source. So the view that you have. And all these tools you can test on everything with all the websites. So not only your own websites, and that's really fun. Especially if you have a folder with bad examples. Just let's have some fun with the Microsoft Accessibility Insights. Why not? And I do it here in my favorite itch. And just start with the Belgium news. HLN, I know it's a good one, doesn't matter. I'm going, there's a tool, there's a little heart, blue heart with the magnifier. I will do a fast pass here. And here color contrast. 44 files. You can even see where if you start. So it will be, I know them a little bit. It will be at least at the bottom and some links. Let's go start to the bottom. Yeah, here. So that we cannot read. We cannot find their address because why should we write a letter to them? Maybe to let them know that they are not completely accessible. But here, this link, that button means just a brand new newsflash. Well, you cannot read it. Let's go further. I'm, of course, not a fan of conspiracy theorists. And Belgium has a great website. Fact checks, who fact checks everything. And I am maybe public shaming them, but I'm only doing this. There's a reason I didn't mention the other two types of logos, infographics. I contacted them, I mailed them, and I tell them about the accessibility, about the color blindness. It was not an issue. It was not a priority. Yeah, I know. I also saw the keynote from Donna Sarker. I love it. I need to be intentionally excluding, intentionally including. If you are doing that case of websites, just talking about facts and fake news, please make it available for everyone, and not only for people with perfect sight, perfect vision, perfect intelligence. Otherwise, and even it's not only color contrast, like as you saw it, even the alts are not there. So, can we have a good example, maybe? This is in Belgium. This is I don't have English again. There's the Federation for People with Disabilities. So let's play with them. Why not? Oof. Zero failed instances. No, I'm a bit happy. I'm really happy. And we have, as I said, as I already showed, the trains in Belgium. What do we do with them? Do a fast pass. Color contrast, of course, is not good. I know at this time I am shaming them, but these are all public organizations with public available data. And this is not reverse engineering, this is not hacking, I'm not doing anything illegal. In fact, they should know this for themselves. Can we do more tests? Of course, it's not only the Microsoft Accessibility Insights. I also love the contrast checker that you can install in Chrome, but also in Edge, but I did for the difference, I did in Chrome, Google Chrome. And with the WCAG contrast checker, also a plugin, you can also do a little bit of fun. So here you also see these links are where you can go to install those plugins. So let's have some fun. As I said, I'm opening Chrome, and guess what? I just opened exactly the same websites for a reason. So HLN, and it's here that tool. And you can even do nice things with that tool, because here you will see the good thing about the terminology that you learned today. might be proto-anomaly, proto-anopia, deuteranopia. We are first, don't set the bar too hard. Double A, just for to be in case. We are matching again. Let's start at protanopia. And you also see here what they see. And that's lovely, that you also see what the people see with those kind of diagnoses, let's say. And you also see, so the failed and succeeded instances against the, let's say, the disability or how you call it, the situation. Okay, enough here. Let's go to fact check. Have some fun. Just start at double A. I guess it will be enough to start. And set it on protanopia. Like here, it's difficult to whittle, to be honest. To be honest, I'm not always pro that I'm a Belgian on stuff that they publish. Do we do the triple A? Why not? Because in fact they should build it for all. Okay. And here also you will see the Federation of People with Disabilities, they will do a good job. I think it's a little bit more strict because I tested, they have some little errors. And it's also, there should be something very little that's not really okay, but the things that need to be really important are there. Let's check time. Perfect. So let's recap this in the outro. I told about accessibility and inclusion. I gave you insights about color vision deficiencies and technology and about color blindness. And I showed tools how to handle accessible colors. And you can use it for the worse or for the better. You can use it for your own websites and products. Or maybe you have competitors and you want to play. Thank you. I have time for questions.
Thank you very much, Danny. Great tools. Thank you for the really practical presentation, right? The Adobe tool is the first time I heard about it. I don't know how. I guess we have some designers here, do we? Should be interesting for designers here. No? No? Okay, mostly developers, maybe. Let's quit to the questions. Do you have any? Any? Yeah.
Maybe you know any country in which there are some legal legislations for accessibility, for example, blindness, for example, like government sites should have like level 2 AA or something like that.
Yeah, there's like everything in life. It's like in IT, there is a short answer and a long answer. The answer is yes, and it's nearly over all the world. It's in Europe, Belgium is really, the main of Europe, Euro is in Brussels. So Belgium is Europe, it's also in the States. There's a difference between the laws and the laws that are applicable also to them and really following them. So you can say that those websites are against, so even from the country itself, Belgium, the governments, are against the European law for accessibility. But there should be a way that it's not implementable, or that they don't implement it, it is implementable, but that they not implement it and not following their own rules. But that's an interesting case because that's also the reason normally they can, you should say you can be sued for not doing accessible. I don't like to lie in my talks. You can be sued for not being accessible. I don't want to lie in my talks. In Europe, to be honest, if the countries are not doing it good, will they sue other parties?
Yeah, thank you. So the theory and practice don't really match.
Maybe there are some browser plugins that you download and it automatically makes your site accessible, like automatic checks for the colors. If they're not right, it automatically converts. So designers wouldn't have to make their sites available beforehand to everyone.
Like everything in IT, a short answer and a long answer. They are. But with the big adoption of the It's not only a buzzword or a terminology, but of inclusion. That means that people in that situation, with and without disabilities, as I said, in fact, inclusion is broader than this, are using the same things, the same environment, and the same tools as other people. People with inclusion, people with those disabilities shouldn't need to install these specific things to do what is. There are exceptions, like if you're blind, it's a screen reader. But as I said, 1 in 3 men has a form of color blindness, and if you also include people who have not officially vision loss but seeing not that good, if they all need to know all the tools to install, all those people are not all IT experts to know which tool to install, and this is a big amount of people. So the short answer they are. The long answer is, should you really go for that option if you know you are talking about so many people and inclusion?
Thank you for your question. Yes.
Thank you. That was really interesting. What would you say would be the most overlooked accessibility feature in the websites?
Overlooked. It's a hard one. To be honest, I'm just focused now in the second color. Color contrast, by example, is overlooked, but there are lots of them. As you said, there are still real lots of websites not using the alt text. I think in common, there's too much difference between the vision about being accessible and teaching others to be everything accessible and really applying it all. And I don't know there's a big distinction between both. I think accessibility is too much not only an afterthought, but also a thing that way too less people really work on and put budget on it. We have security. As definitely, since we have the law, the GDPR, we have also a data officer. I like Microsoft. They having just a chief for accessibility, JD Life-Flurry. How many companies have really something dedicated for accessibility? So there are lots of things to think about, and the common overlooked feature is just not knowing. We are a lot of people about accessibility and what's needed. So I cannot say one feature, honestly.
Yeah. Thank you. Your question. Any more questions? If no, then I'll thank you for letting us walk in someone else's shoes and see the world through someone else's eyes for a moment. So thank you very much. A round of applause for Dennie. Yeah, and that's it for Lambda stage, and that's it for the stage for today. My name was Lucas. At 5 o'clock, we are going to have a final presentation at the big stage. So be sure to be there, and see you next time.